do you think this election any effects that you have on Kenya?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think
Kenyans, are we pro what? Are we pro Democrat, or we just tossed around by whoever comes in and they just use us?
now, you know what we are as a country. In my view, we generally were imitators.
Yes.
Right? We tend to imitate, and then sometimes we go with the flow, but we're leaning toward the West, more so to the
West.
United States. Geopolitically, we're what you would call a vassal state.
Okay.
A vassal state meaning that we do as we're told.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to foreign policy. So we don't necessarily have our own say.
Right.
And you can tell. I mean,
Yes,
see what's going on in Haiti.
Yeah.
What are we doing in Haiti, 90 miles from here?
Right.
When America should be down there. So, but
Yes.
Kenya is supposedly, leading that effort. So, how is this going to change Kenya? I think in a lot of ways. It's going to change. Trump is. I'm not going to say he's an isolationist.
No.
No, but he's not the type that, from what we saw the first time, or even what he said publicly, he's not the type to be involved so much in what else.
Do you think President Ruto is gonna be worried about the change of administration?
I would if I were him.
After getting a state dinner and all that?
I would if I were him. I should. and that's a very good point. Because I think President Ruto and Joe Biden had a very good camaraderie.
Yeah, dude.
And
with the ambassador.
Yeah.
The ambassador she's become a businesswoman in Kenya.
Yeah, and even when you look at that relationship with the ambassador, I think it's something beyond what you would expect to be a diplomatic relationship.
Yes.
And I don't blame them.
Of course.
But at the same time, I think the relationship it oversteps in such a sense that it overlooks or compromises the welfare, the general welfare of the people. And what I mean by that is that if you see what's going on, what happened after President Ruto left, there was an uprising of the Gen Zs, and his response was unbelievably draconian, I should say. So, and America wasn't there. Megan Whitman, she didn't say nothing, even with the kids disappearing and all.
Right.
So I think that gave many Kenyans a sense of pause.
Yes.
Meaning, what kind of a friend do we have? It's not a friend of Kenyans. I think it's more so a friend of the government in place. So I think for those of us that follow this, I think we're going to be very, very keen on raising awareness with the Trump administration to just make sure that that is amplified. Right. That it's either you're a friend of the country or a friend or you're not.
Do you think we're out of Haiti now with Trump coming?
Maybe so, because Trump, Trump is he's a money guy, he's a numbers guy. So he might say, why are we paying?
United Nations pay for
for Haiti's stability. Why do we pay that? And we're just gonna. He might just cancel these things out. Relatively speaking, you got more problems actually in the Middle East, in Israel, and the Hamas folks. And then you have Ukraine and the Russians.
Do you think he's going to do a better job than Kamala would have?
No.
Don't think so?
No. I think Trump being Trump, he said he'll end the 124 hours.
Yes.
But, it's just doesn't happen in 24 hours. There's something you got to give. Something's got to give. Right. And I don't think it's going to be in the interest of the Ukrainians. I think it's more so going to be leaning toward the Russians. But who knows? Who knows? Trump is a salesman, so he might.
Are you nervous about these 4 years? Are you? I know. Benin was saying that even him being a born American and how, he fell short of saying God's doing, how he's escaped those two assassinations and being all those things, and he's still at the helm, and people think we are dangerous with him at the home, that he may press that button. Should we be worried?
No,
No, we shouldn't.
no. The first time we didn't know Trump. I mean, there's a lot of things Trump said that
He didn't do.
Well, and he intentionally did that. Like I said earlier, he's a salesman. What he said earlier today, or was it yesterday, that he has a simple message: promises made, promises kept. That's how he's going to govern, right? But he made a lot of promises. So if I'm an immigrant without paperwork, then I'm worried, right? If I'm, let's say, what else did he say? There's several things he said, that he's going to do to change. But from that, those of us that live in this country have lived for so long, I mean, that shouldn't worry me.
Yeah.
But there are those that, for example, maybe the new arrivals, the last couple of years or whenever that was.
And the Dakar, remember the Dakar kids who were here?
Yeah, but for the Dakar folks, I think he couldn't get rid of the program even under because that came under Obama.
Yeah.
He tried to get rid of it, and in his administration, the court stopped him.
Mm-hmm.
And even what he's saying, I think. Honestly, Trump is a very compassionate guy. Other than what he says,
yes.
Trump, I think, he's got heart. You know why?
Yes.
From a business standpoint.
Trump, a compassionate guy, says David.
But
Go ahead. I know.
Let me qualify that, because Trump is a businessman, right?
Yes.
And, the kind of business he's in literally depends on immigrants. If you didn't know that's the immigrants actually working is and what on the street is that during his time, if you wanted to work for Trump and you're immigrant, you would get the job. So I think he's going to balance.
He's gonna balance.
Yeah, I don't think, and he's a businessman. He knows businesses depend on immigrant. They say one of his guys, I forgot his name, Miller. I forget his first name, but Miller said, "We're going to send millions out of here." But if they can send folks more than Obama did,
Obama did more deportation than
any U.S. president at any given time. So, and even Trump couldn't match Obama.
No.
Period by period comparison.
Right.
So I think that's, and the guy that did it actually was Rahm Emanuel, because they thought they would please the Republicans enough to pass immigration reform.
Okay.
They fall under that thought, which I think was foolish, to be honest with you, but that's what they did.
Right.
And it didn't work out. So Obama became the deporter in chief. Trump didn't deport people. There were folks that were just, they were in limbo. He slowed the process, approvals and everything. But I don't think he sent away a lot of people. So
you're telling Kenyans watching that, relax, calm down. This guy is compassionate. He's a businessman. He knows what he's doing, right?
That's my assessment. I don't make the policy.
I know.
But I think those fears that people have in general, I think I would tone them down.
Okay.
There's the guardrails, they call them now. They're legal protections, for example.
Of course.
So all it's going to take is maybe one or two things that he starts, and then there's a process that he has to go through. Someone is going to file a suit.
But are you not worried? Not worried, but like in Kenya, where President Ruto has the Senate and the Parliament, here the Senate is already Republican, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how the House is. Are they getting the majority? Where are they?
No, the way they have it by this afternoon before I came over, there were 218 Republican and 188 Democrat. But so that means
so the Republic,
they're not too far from where they need to be.
So he may have the Senate.
No, it's going to have
the House
full
and presidency.
Yeah, it's going to have.
That's dangerous.
Well,
if he uses for the wrong reason.
Yeah, but it's not just the legislature that he has now. Of course, the White House, the executive, the legislature, which is the Congress, and
judiciary.
The Supreme Court. It's staffed by. And he might be one of the most consequential presidents in terms of actually nominating or appointing Supreme Court judges.
David, I want to talk about that because you'd think that judiciary or the judges are supposed to be completely, so bless you, neutral, that they would adjudicate anything without any bias.
Right.
And recently in Kenya, for a moment,
right.
I'm thinking, what is a court? What? And I'm not trying to, because I don't have any solution. What is a court? A guy sits there. It's like a Bible. I'm going to tell you something about what we do as preachers.
Yeah.
You preach on the same topic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to skew it in a way. And as long as I say, that says the Lord, everybody says hallelujah, and they agree.
Yes.
Someone going to use the same verse,
right,
tweak it,
yep.
and still people going to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about what a court means. The judge there. Now, in America, are judges really neutral, objective, or are they politically aligned?
Well, let's put it this way: the law is an ass. That's how they call it. Meaning,
yes.
you can twist it.
Right.
But I think in America, the way it's set up, the legal doctrine is set up in a way that you apply the law to a set of facts and circumstances, right? There's facts that are presented to the court, and then there's logic behind how you apply it.
Interpretation.
No, that's
not
what I'm getting at.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at. In America, I think the interpretation of the law is very limited. Okay. In other words, if the law, the way it's set up, is ambiguous, in other words, it's ambiguity in the law itself, then it gives room for you to interpret what it means, and then how do you apply it to a set of facts. But primarily, it's actually you intended to apply the facts. You spot the issues that are presented before you, then you apply, what does the law say? For example, in criminal law, right, most of the time you have some cases, most cases, even not all of them, there's what they call elements of a crime, for example.
Okay.
So you come to court, you have to prove all the elements that make up of that crime, right? Factually, that is. And then the jury says you met element A, element B, element C, therefore you're guilty. But if you miss element 4, then you don't make your case. The way the system is set up here, the judges decide, the judiciary decides matters law, right? Anything has to do with the law, the judge gets to decide that. Anything that has to do with facts of the case, the jury then decides whether it's guilty or not guilty.
And who is the jury?
Right?
You pick every Jack and Harry on the street.
Yeah, but exactly. But here's the difference between what we have in Kenya. It's what you said in terms of interpretation of the law. Mm-hmm. Every one of those judges sitting on that bench that you see, they're the judge, they're the jury.
Yes.
So they get to interpret the law, not necessarily apply the law. And that's why you have different variations of how the judges in Kenya rule. Most of them, to be honest with you, if you ask me, maybe it's just the hand they're dealt, but hopefully they don't hear this. But there's a shortfall in terms of competency.
Right.
That's how we end up with folks that, what was the other guy's name the other day? Asani or some guy. Mm-hmm. Folks get away with blatant crimes in Kenya because maybe you bribed somebody. And in Kenya, by the way, legal cases. Any case in Kenya, right from the police all the way to the judiciary, it's a big business, because that's how decisions are made. It's a bidding war. I've been a victim of that. That's what I'm telling you. So in America, we don't have that. It might have political influence. There might be cases where a judge really, looks at a case and sincerely knows, that what the outcome ought to be, right, based on the facts of the case, and steers it that way, right? Because they have that power to do it. That comes in either allowing some evidence or disallowing evidence, or instructions that they give to the jury on how to interpret certain laws, and all the jury has to say is yes or no. There was a case, I don't know if you remember, I forgot the name of it, but it was this guy that during George Floyd's murder, and there were these kids that were protesting, and one little guy shows up with a machine gun where it was a protest, and he ended up killing two guys, and thank God, not thank God, but they were not black because they would have been riots.
Right.
And I'll cut it short. But in any event, when it came to actually hearing, the judge was very prejudicial, if you ask me, because there are things that you're not supposed to attribute to the victim if you want to have a fair hearing or a fair adjudication of what's going on. And he was telling me, hey, if they were rioting and he was trying to stop it, then I'm not going to tell the jury that they were not rioting. The victims were not rioting. So when he plants that seed, he's allowed to do that, but he shouldn't have done that because it prejudices the case. But I'm just giving you the anecdotes of how the system itself is set up. But in Kenya, it's outright business. There's a gap, competence gap, if you ask me, the way the law is taught, the way folks understand it. And I'm not saying all of them are like that, but there's enough of them to make the system totally out of whack.
And the role of the lawyers too, how competent they are.
Right.
Like, O.J. Simpson here,
it's
not whether he did it or not, it's whether they could prove it.
Yes.
The glove did not
you
fit, right?
Right.
So that the judge may witness in his civil life, see something happening, and he knows there are facts. But if the lawyer doesn't prove it as per the law,
you can't.
You go with it.
And I think, Doc, you raised that a very good point, because in Kenya, a lot of the decisions are made on the whims of whoever, we call them trier facts, which happens to be the same guy, the judge.
Right.
There have been cases that I look at myself and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what's going on here? There have been cases where somebody in Kenya, that is, an old lady, was actually charged with murder because a body was found in one of the in our compound.
Yes, I remember that story. Was it Wairimo? And then
somebody. And then so I was looking to see what kind of evidence that they have that connects.
Yes.
The judge said it was found at the corner in your property. I mean, an old lady, right? Common sense would tell you somebody might kill somebody and just dump them there. You're not going there every day to find somebody. So at the end of the day, you gotta find the smoking gun, we call it here. Who done it? Who done it?
Yes.
Does the glove fit? If it doesn't fit, mama, alipatikana kwa shamba yako sijui.
Yes.
Yeah. Then and that's all you can say. Right. I don't know. That doesn't prove anything, but the judge convicted that old lady that just because the body was found on a property somewhere at the corner somewhere, that she was guilty and sentenced her. I forgot how long. It's a miscarriage of justice. The point is, they do that all the time.
Yes.
And you find guilty folks walking away just because they can bribe, they can pay their way out of crimes. You have a guy, the MPs, for example, especially there's a lot of these people under the, in this government that came to power.
Right.
There's that lady that, I forgot her name, but she was charged with killing somebody, shooting somebody and killing him during a campaign. Juma, I forgot her name, Juma, I think that's her name, the first name, can't remember. And then she was charged with a crime of murder. But because she was way up here, what they did, they said, okay, we're going to turn you into a witness. How do you turn a suspect that everybody's pointing at that committed a crime, and you're going to turn her into a witness against her own bodyguard? That had nothing to do with what happened.
Yeah.
But it's commonplace in Kenya.
The other thing I do is about law. It's interpretive, but also the context. Right. There are times where I've looked about the culture, the law, and the faith. And I lived to see where the law was almost suspended to 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 listen to the whims of ethnicity.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you remember the Otieno Waboy case.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Did you follow it?
Yeah, I followed that case.
Do you know who won?
The,
Okay, Otieno was legally married to a boy.
Yeah.
Or a boy was legally to Otieno.
Yeah.
In as far as Christianity is concerned,
Yeah.
or legally,
Yeah.
the two become one.
Right.
And the nurse of kin, who should have actually taken the body, was Waboy.
Yeah.
To take her to Matasia or Matasia.
Yeah, for Matasia, yeah.
And I don't know how old you are to remember the story where the Luo community say it has to be go to Kogelo. This is our son.
Yeah.
And you are boy, by the way.
Yeah.
You are our wife. You should come and get married.
Yeah, we'll inherit you.
Do you know who won? Do you know the country was so tense?
Yes.
The country was so tense.
Right.
I remember I was a teacher in Moro and I was wondering that if the case went the other way round,
yeah,
there would have been fire because it was a culture and it was so embedded among the Luo community.
Yes.
This is our son.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you've been married, the Christian rights.
Yeah.
That is immaterial.
Yeah.
He is one of us.
Right.
Do you know who won?
Didn't you?
Culture.
Yeah, culture won.
Christian faith lost.
Yeah.
Marriage lost.
Yeah.
Legal part lost. They had to listen to culture because I think the judges realized, or the court realized.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, but I think they might have been told, don't put the country on fire.
Yeah.
Let this community take their son.
And that's how it went.
So how you think about the law? How do you apply the law? Do you listen to the public? Do you think that the judges sometimes read the mood of the country and therefore they want to keep the country at peace and therefore they may skew the law to fit?
Yeah, a lot of that is what happens in Kenya, right? Because again, it's a business, and there's sometimes they call it public policy.
Yes.
Meaning that you really don't want to, don't stop.
Right.
Fire or riot unless you really have to. But I think when we get stuck in that kind of, setting of thinking,
right,
we don't progress. No, we can't. And unfortunately, there are those instances that in Kenya maybe way more so than here, than that judges, because they do what we consider legislating from the bench, right?
Right.
We have two sets of laws. We have common law and statutory law.
Mm-hmm.
Statutory law, of course, is what's passed by Parliament,
right.
signed by the President. But some of them are based on precedents.
Yes.
Right? So lower courts, like magistrates' courts or maybe high courts in some sense, they might make decisions that vary from a Kisii court to Kikuyu court. Mm-hmm. They might not have as much import than, let's say, an appeals court would have, or the Supreme Court.
Right.
And it just so happens that in Kenya, that's the difference. Common law and how they interpret everything is that we do skews the law because it's based on somebody's interpretation years back.
Yep.
Not anchored in any law.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what somebody did. This is how we've done things. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to statutory law, meaning that, how do I apply the law, right? Which in Kenya, it's really bad. It's extremely bad because it has as many interpretations, not the application. It's got as many interpretations as there are courts in that country. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we go off on a tangent. And then you wonder why.
And again, you remember the Maraga case? We're about to close on the Maraga?
Yeah.
Being about cancelling the whole elections and everybody being forced to go back to the election?
Right.
Because of 6 people, and I know that they were insulted. These 6 fellows just decide about the fate of the millions.
Yes.
And yet.
But that was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not, from a public policy standpoint, I don't think, it put us on a different level.
Very high trajectory, yes.
Yes, as a country. And sadly, we're back to the current court has set us back years back from where we've gotten. I think as it stands now, I think there's something you said about Trump having control
Right.
or at least influence over the Congress, the judiciary, and of course the executive.
Right.
Now we have a situation in Kenya where the president literally controls all arms of government. You know, he makes all the decisions. If you dare speak up against that, he probably, you know, is going to come after you, or he's whatever they've given them. You know, I think they're not doing it for free. No, in Kenya.
No, I think it's for free.
And it's denying a lot of our people the opportunity to advance because they're passing unjust laws.
Right.
The courts are rubber stamping unjust laws. There's one other thing that I see now that is coming out that starting January, when you travel to Kenya, you got to give the government.
Yeah, I had something like that.
Your IMEI, which means IMEI, which is simply your ID.
Like if you have several.
Yeah, they say that the KRA wants to have your IMEI for tax purposes. They have not connected why they would need it for tax purposes. But what we know is happening in Kenya now, there's a lot of kidnappings or abductions.
Yes.
And then we come to find out that they're tracking people through their phones, through IMEIs that they have on your phone. And that's how they're able to
get a hold of intrusion of privacy?
Yeah, of course it is.
Is it going to be contested at the whatever, or maybe the Kenyans don't care because that's for outside?
Yeah, but we care. I mean, Kenyans care, but you know, it's not even that we're timid to actually fight. Kenyans, I think, especially Gen Zs, they'll fight. And thank God we're bold enough to really face up and speak truth to power.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're powerless, right? We're very powerless on what we can do. If Ruto wants this day or tomorrow, you remember what they did with Huduma number.
Yes.
They forced people to register. And we've not seen any value to, I've never seen any value to anybody. That's the same thing they're doing. But I think what we're going to be doing going forward now is more advocacy,
right?
You know, and bringing more awareness to what's really going on. You asked earlier if Ruto should be concerned about this Trump administration, and I'm saying maybe he should because we're going to try to create more awareness.
Exactly.
And say that, you know, we need help. Kenya needs help. You know, it's a beautiful country, and we can do a lot of good as a country. But we have those in power holding everybody down.
Yes.
You know, so we got to figure out a way out of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is David, and David is well and known in many ways, and we'll be having many series of discussion and all that. But I would love for you, David, to tell viewers one thing you're so proud about Kenya, because you're Kenyan. Of course, knowing we're about 60 years. Is it about 60 years since independence, more or less? And of course, we cannot compare ourselves to the U.S. U.S. has been there for 300 years, and that should be no excuse. What is this thing that makes you so proud as a Kenyan in the diaspora? Yeah. And what is this one challenge you wish, if you had the power, you would change like yesterday?
Oh, gosh. Oh, Bishop, where do I begin? But, I mean, you know, for me, honestly, you know, we're a very blessed country. Kenya, we are. We are a country of champions. You know, there is no other country on earth with especially an African country, with the kind of champions that we produce from Rift Valley. You know, and we're known for that. And even when we hear a lot of the names that parents call their names, you say the Kenyatta, you know, something related to Kenya in some way. So it warms your heart. You know, you feel good.
Yes.
And especially when Obama came to power and said, hey, look, see, this is home. This is our problem.
Cradle of humanity. By the way, I teach anthropology, and one of the earliest fossils is northern Kenya.
Right.
You know, so many good things, right?
Exactly. So I'm very proud of that. That's a good heritage to have, you know, to be associated with.
Yes.
And so, and then on the extreme of side of the pendulum, then you have bad governance,
Ah,
corruption,
yes.
murders, people
Right.
that just drag everybody down, you know. So I remember growing up, we used to call Kenya land of contrast.
Yes.
You know, that's used to be a mantra for tourism, I believe. So there's those good contrasts that we have that we want the world to know about us.
Yes.
But there's also some very bad things that, you know, our own people do. And in fairness to them, especially this government in place now, is that we, you know, our people, put them there. You know,
yes.
So what I've told some of them is musiba wa kujitakia, hauna kilio, so don't cry.
Don't cry.
Yes. But unfortunately, we all end up getting dragged down.
Yes.
There are things I'm looking at, I'm thinking maybe you should suffer, you know. You don't cry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're all in this together.
Yes.
So, and we're our brother's keeper.
Yes.
You know, we got to do the best we can. And pull the country out of the mess it finds itself, especially now.
Yeah.
And that's, I think those are the ones I can think of.
Thank you so much. David says there's hope. We are a land of champions, but we still have challenges, if you may, just like any other country has. David, next time we meet, we're going to talk about the diaspora and its contribution. And I would love for you, when you come back to the show, to highlight some of the, when you see yourself as a diasporian, are you a brain gain or are you a brain drain? And I know in an article you wrote, I don't know whether you remember, we had a Maju Times, and you had a very nice article about the decoding the vault. You remember you writing this article?
Oh, yeah.
It's decoding the vault. And you had talked about the microeconomics, quasi-microeconomics, macroeconomics, and telling us how important we are in terms of remittance. But it should go beyond capital remittance and touch on the what I may call social remittance. That means intelligence, the capacity to kind of, just share what we've learned. And I hope when we meet, once again, David has been in this country longer than I have, and he's quite well endowed. We really thank you for your political input.
Thank you.
I know as a finance guru, you're going to help us in terms of financial remittance. And then maybe also talk about us here in diaspora, how we can enhance unity or purpose. Because guess what our friend Omtata told me when we went for fish. Do you remember we went to fish for the soul food? And I was asking, where do we come in diaspora? And there's one challenge he said, you are the most divisive group. He actually said we are more divisive than they are in Kenya.
That is true.
It is so sad
it's
that we are so
divided.
tribally divided. We go in our own cocoons so that we cannot have one thing in common. That will be the challenge next time, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is David Ogega. Is that the word?
That's what most people know me by.
I don't know why I like calling Ochwangi, but you know what? Thank you so much, because you've actually done a lot of effort to bring Kenyans here, to bring us together so that we can maximize our potential. Don't give up. Let us hope that Trump administration will give us a new leave of life. We hope so. And we thank you so much for your time, my brother.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you so much. This is Bishop's Corner. Hope to see you shortly or in the near future on this forum. God bless you.